Hey, how are we doing there, everyone? Welcome back. So today we are going to rediscuss the issues surrounding Kawasaki's new electric motorcycle range. Well, I say range, there's only two bikes in it. We've done a video about this before, but recently we've got some more information about how much the bikes are actually going to cost, and unfortunately it has, what's the word, it's kind of what I expected, to be honest. More expensive than the equivalent motorcycles they're trying to replace, less range, maybe less power as well. I mean, this article here that I've got is on Yahoo News. It's entitled "Kawasaki Sparks Debate After Revealing Specs of Its First Ever Electric Motorcycle," and in quotes, "This is a joke." Now, I've had a little look through this article, and to be perfectly honest with you, I am kind of in agreement with this article in some lights. So we did a video about this before, and I was on the ZH2, and we kind of had a little bit of a discussion about my initial impressions of what these bikes are going to be like, and my suspicions kind of came true, where it's a bike that's going to be more expensive, not a lot of range, and pretty much is a glorified electric bicycle or e-scooter. I can kind of see a little bit more potential if Kawasaki kind of had the opposite approach, which I suggested, which was to, instead of release these smaller end bikes, release the more top end ones, things that can compete alongside like the 1000s and things like that, things that are kind of like on par with that kind of motorcycle. But this kind of stuff, I really don't see it catching on, mainly because 125cc bikes in their current state are actually probably the best of both worlds, where they're not gas hogs, they produce very little emissions, they are really good on fuel economy, they are budget oriented bikes, absolutely perfect for going in and around town and cities, and even a little bit beyond that. I mean, we did a video recently about how much the Ninja 125, the wifey's motorcycle, can actually do, and it can do more than what one of these electric bikes is kind of being pitched at, if you know what I mean. The kind of audience that this motorcycle is being pitched at are going to be a little bit disappointed, I think, and I'm not sure if these kinds of bikes are going to sell very well whatsoever. Anyway, so we've got two models. We've got the ZE, or the ZE1 and the Ninja E1. So these are the kinds of bikes that are meant to be replacing the Ninja 125, or at least not necessarily replacing, but kind of are supposed to be in the same league as the Ninja 125 and the Z125. So they're due to be launched in the United States, Canada, and the UK. This is a little bit confusing for me. The United States, as far as I'm aware, don't have a need for 125cc equivalent motorcycles, so it's a bit of an oddity why they think that pitching this to the United States is going to be any good. Riders in the United States don't have a need for 125s, and I'm not even sure if they even sell 125s in the US. So yeah, I don't know about that. If 125s as they aren't going to get any sales in the US, I struggle to believe that these kinds of bikes will. Canada, I'm not so sure. UK, obviously there is a market here, because we do have a lot of 125cc riders. Every motorcyclist in the UK has to start off on a 125cc if they are going to progress any further with their riding careers. So we're looking at, let's see if I can zoom this in a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. So we're kind of looking at $7,600 and $7,300 US for the Ninja E1 and the ZE1, and the specs are pretty much the same. They are, so this image here is of the ZE1. The motors are exactly the same. The only real difference is that one's a naked and one is more of a sport bike kind of looking thing. So one commenter according to this article, said this is a joke. It's a £7,500 electric bicycle without pedals. Absolutely no one should buy this, not only because it's a terrible product and a complete waste of money, but to send a message that a company can't just release a terrible product and people will buy it anyway, just because of the name on the side. Yes, I do kind of agree with this, and I've complained for a number of years about how Kawasaki have used the Ninja branding to be fair to them, if it gets them more sales, then that's probably what they're going to do. But using the Ninja branding in too many variants of their bikes, because it kind of diminishes what that name means. Back in the day, the Ninja branding meant the flagship bikes that Kawasaki had to offer, and these days it's spread across everything. It's like you're paying the extra $300 just for the Ninja branding. I don't know. You guys know me. I have been a supporter of Kawasaki for pretty much all my life. I love their products and I trust their motorcycles. I really do. But this is taking the mick a little bit, if you ask me. Now, this isn't necessarily meant to be a bash at Kawasaki in every way, shape or form around these bikes. Everyone's got to start somewhere. And if there's one thing that this article doesn't really say is that what this means in terms of innovation, risk-taking. The execs at Kawasaki, the engineers at Kawasaki, already know that this bike is not going to sell very well. They already know. But it's to try and get their foot in the door or in the space. You've got to start somewhere. And I suppose this is a way of testing the waters. If it's, if people may be interested in buying these kinds of things, then maybe it will allow Kawasaki or give them the opportunity to develop the tech a little bit further. So, just in case you don't know, let's talk about some specs here. So apparently the bike can do around about 55 miles an hour top speed. So they're slower than a 125 is right now. And apparently the range of the bikes is under 40 miles. And I think that's kind of, what's the word? A bit of a stretch, I think is the word I'm looking for. It would be lucky if it got up to 40 miles on a single charge, because the batteries in these are actually really small. I think they are designed to be interchanged. So the idea would be that you don't just buy the bike with the battery it comes with. You buy two batteries, you charge one of them up, and you use one on the go. And if you need to go a little bit further, then I imagine you can carry the other battery with you. I don't know, maybe if there's some kind of top box that you can attach to the bike, maybe you can store the battery in there. And if you need to go further, then I'd say closer to maybe 60 miles. Because you can imagine, can't you? If you're doing 55 mile an hour, you're not going to be able to do that over 40 miles. Simple as that. You might be able to get 30 miles out of it, maybe even 20 miles max, if you're doing the maximum speed of the bike. But in effect, this is a downgrade in every single category compared to the bikes that one day they might be replacing. So the Ninja 125, Z125. And it's heavy as well. It's a heavy bike. Electric cars have the exact same problem. They are heavy machines because the batteries themselves weigh an awful lot. At least the current batteries that are in use, the lithium polymer, solid state batteries, whatever tech there is at the moment for lithium based batteries, lithium cobalt batteries, they are very heavy. They're very dense, so they can store a lot of energy, they can store a lot of power, but they're very, very heavy as a result. And I mean, that's the beauty of petrol, of gasoline. It has a lot of energy density, but it's in a liquid form and it burns easily. So you've got a lot of energy stored in a fluid that you only need a spray of that fluid to give you enough power to power a car, power a motorcycle, power whatever you want, pretty much. So as far as I'm concerned, battery tech isn't there yet. I don't know if there's something around the corner with solid state batteries, if it's going to make battery density that much more effective. It probably will in cars, because cars you've got a lot more room to work with. So it does make sense a lot of the time, this kind of tech in cars, but in bikes where you've got such a small space to cram a battery in, it's always going to be a struggle. But anyway, let's see what else this article has to say. So another commentator says, another commentator says, yeah, I had high hopes for this bike, but it's less powerful, heavier, and slightly faster than my 3800 Talaria Supermoto, which is more e-bike than e-moto, so I can ride it anywhere a bike goes. I don't know what this is. I've never heard of this brand before, but if this is a competitor in the space, again, at that price range, Kawasaki are way off the mark. Some way to go before the battery tech becomes viable for motorcycles, as I've already mentioned. Have to be patient, said a third commenter. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. This is one of those opportunities to test the waters, see how people react to this, and the only way is up, really, for this kind of tech. Battery tech has been developing year after year at such a rapid rate that it's only a matter of time before we start seeing batteries that are actually viable. So something else that I want to add here, which might be part of the plan for these electric motorcycles in the future, is that it allows space to upgrade the battery. So if they use the same interface, then strictly speaking, there's no reason why you can't upgrade the battery at a later date. Maybe Kawasaki have got some kind of plan in the near future with a much better upgraded battery that would be a simple swap and you got more range and more power. I don't know how much the power of the electric motor is limited by the battery and how much is limited by the motor itself, but it's an interesting kind of concept when you think about it, that it leaves a lot of room in the future to upgrade your bike, almost like a computer. You upgrade, well, if you're a PC builder like I am, then you'll know about this already. A lot of the time, motherboards, RAM, processor even, you can keep them in your machine for a very long time and upgrade things as you go using the same motherboard. So you can upgrade the graphics card, you can upgrade the RAM, you can upgrade the processor, all with the same chassis in effect, all with the same foundation. You can kind of imagine that once we get to the point where a battery can do 500 miles on a single charge in a car, well, even if that only equates to 150 miles for a motorcycle battery, so if you scale it down for a motorcycle, that is still pretty competitive. Yes, there are loads of bikes out there that can do 200 miles on a single tank, but on average you're looking between 125 175 miles on a tank. So I think if manufacturers can reach that 150 mile tank or 150 mile range threshold at maximum power delivery, I don't want any kind of I don't want any restrictions. I don't want to not have my cake and eat it. I want to be able to do everything that I want with it without there being that much of a drawback, if you know what I mean. Okay, fine. Let's say if you're riding under normal conditions, you can get 175 miles out of a single charge, but if you're riding at 70 mile an hour constant, then you can get 150 miles. I know that's a difficult ask, because where petrol and gasoline make a lot of sense is that at highway speeds, traditional internal combustion, once you get to those speeds, you don't need a lot of fuel to maintain that speed. Most of the fuel you're using is getting up to speed. Maintaining it is nowhere near as inefficient, if you know what I mean. And that's why you get really, really good fuel mileage when you're on the motorway. Because if you're doing a constant 60 mile an hour, if you're doing a constant 70 mile an hour on a motorway over an hour, 2 hours, you're going to get much better mileage than if you are in start-stop traffic in the middle of a town centre. But it's slightly different for electric cars and electric bikes. The whole way that they work is they need to continue that power delivery they need to be able to sustain that power delivery at higher speeds. So it's kind of like an opposite effect to some extent, because electric cars, electric bikes, they seem to do much better in city environments, but aren't that great on highways, whereas petrol is the other way around, gasoline is the other way around. They do better on highways and not so great in town centres. So it's really interesting, but like I said, there's going to be some kind of development in the near future that is going to make these bikes viable one day. I have no doubt. And I'm not a fan of electric. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I'm not a fan of electric. I really want this tech to fall flat on its face. Because I like what we have. And the closer we can get to what we have, the better for me. This isn't it. But we've all got to face the music. You know, this is where the industry is going. This is where countries and governments, they want us going in this direction for their lofty net zero targets by 2050 or whenever it might be. But it still sucks. To me, it still sucks, especially when you're looking at 125cc bikes. They make so much sense today, right now, and they will continue making sense for a long time to come. I don't know. Let's see what else this article has to say quickly before we finish up today. Luckily for those commenters and anyone else hoping to buy a real electric motorcycle in the near future, some other companies have them in development and may be closer to meeting the market than Kawasaki currently is. Those include the Verge TS from Verge Motorcycles, which can reportedly go 233 miles on a single charge at a significantly higher price point, and a Kenyan company called Rome that has plans to produce 50,000 electric motorcycles per year. Okay, well, that's just hearsay. A company can say whatever the hell they like. It doesn't mean that that's actually going to happen. Verge TS, I've never heard of Verge Motorcycles before. You seem to be getting lots of like that pop-up companies that seem to want to really use the hype train for electric anything, whatever it might be. And so I'm really, really skeptical of Verge TS or Verge Motorcycles from creating even a dent in the industry. Once you start getting companies like Kawasaki, you know, these massive firms. I mean, Kawasaki Motorcycles is like a decimal point in the business, you know, kind of like the whole business that Kawasaki have. They're a heavy industries company. That is their first and foremost, that is where they make most of their money. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Kawasaki have got some absolutely brilliant engineers working on this stuff. But these little startups, what the hell are they going to do? You know, they're never going to be able to compete with a company like Kawasaki or Honda or Yamaha at the simple amount, just the amount of resources that they're going to be able to throw at these issues. They're never going to be able to compete. Even Zero motorcycles are way off. When you're looking at even the likes of like Harley Davidson are making more strides in electric than Zero are, or any other electric manufacturer. In fact, actually, yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. I don't think anyone else has, but Harley Davidson, I think, has, haven't they? Let's have a quick look. I'm pretty sure that Harley Davidson has released an electric motorcycle to market, and it wasn't received very well, I don't think. But let's have a look. Here we go. Yeah, this is the electric range from Harley Davidson, and they kind of represent more what I'm kind of looking for. If I'm a motorcycle enthusiast and I want to buy into this technology, I want something that's a little bit more upmarket, something that is more powerful, something that offers something better than what I have at the moment. And that's the problem. No electric bikes really do in terms of performance or range or reliability. But this is more of the thing that I want to see everyone else doing, you know, try and really put the cards on the table, see what they can do with this tech, what they really can do. Because once you have a product that you can show off, that's like a poster kind of product that kids have on their walls and things like that, that's when you start generating hype and interest in these kinds of bikes. And at the moment, we're not there yet. None of these bikes will truly blow us away. Remember what the Ninja H2 was like when that first came out? 2015, Ninja H2. The hype train around that motorcycle was absolutely crazy. Even I was up on the hype, and it didn't disappoint. It's one of, if not the fastest road legal motorcycles in the world, and it has been for how many years? Since 2015, 8 years. And really, by today's standards, that's kind of old tech already. It's 8 years old already. That's old tech. But that's the kind of thing that I think consumers want to see, is what the potential is for this kind of stuff. And because, yeah, it's like a marketing tool, really, at the end of the day. That's kind of what that is. Even if it's not actually that good practically for street riding or what have you, if you've got a bike, an electric bike that can keep up with the likes of a Ninja H2 around a track or something like that, with similar amount of performance or more performance, with a similar amount of range, you're onto a winner. That's like a wet dream for a marketing team, you know what I mean? Something like that if you can make something that goes faster and does more than the fastest motorcycle in the world can, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? But I'm not. I think if these are being sold anywhere, I think they're just in the US. But look at that! It's really funny how they're advertising e-bikes here as well. That's kind of stupid, isn't it? That's what I mean. They're just glorified e-bikes. That's all they really are. Anyway, is there anything else here? No, there's nothing else in this article really to discuss. But I'd love to know what you think on this. £7,500 for $1,000 for an electric motorcycle that can do 40 miles of range and can't even hit 60 mile an hour. Is that worth it to you? To me, no. If I was a beginner rider, I would not be interested in anything like this. Honestly, if you want something similar to this that has got better range, that can go faster, you might as well look at a 125cc scooter, because effectively that is what these bikes are. They are twist and go two-wheeled vehicles. That's all they are. There's no gearing, well, apart from the drive gear, I suppose, and the center of the bike, which again is another thing I don't quite understand. So if we have a look again at this image here, so the drive is done by an electric motor in the middle of the bike here. That really surprises me. I would have thought that they would actually have the motors, or the motor itself, on the wheel itself. What's the point in having a chain? The whole point, another benefit supposedly to having an electric car is that it's less maintenance, but you still have to maintain the chain on one of these things. So they should delete the chain entirely and just have the motor directly on the wheel. For God's sake, right? I've got here, I mean it's broken at the moment, but I've got an e-scooter, and the battery is inside the platform, and the motor is in the rear wheel, which is about this big. Teeny tiny little thing. So, and this is like something from eBay, from China. So if a Chinese manufacturer can do it, then Kawasaki can definitely do it. I don't quite understand this design choice here. Imagine the amount of space that they would save here. And I'm not an engineer, right? I'm just speculating, okay? But imagine the amount of space that they'd save here for the battery if they deleted that and moved it over directly to the rear wheel. You're basically getting double the amount of space, double the amount of storage capacity. I imagine this is where the battery compartment is, right here on this bit. Maybe it's inside where a traditional fuel tank would be, maybe this area. But you know what I mean? You are adding so much more battery capacity with this little bit of extra space. I don't know. Maybe these motors aren't around yet. Motors that are designed to produce this much power aren't around yet. They are. Okay? Tesla has them. And Tesla are using them in their cars. even EVs from other manufacturers, Volkswagen, whatever manufacturer that is developing EVs, making EVs, producing EVs, they've got these kinds of motors. But can you fit them in a motorcycle here? Do you know what? I wouldn't mind if we had this motor here with a thicker rear wheel. I don't think I'd mind that. 125cc tyres have quite a narrow profile. You know, they're probably about this thick, whereas on the other bikes that we've got, they're more like this big. So if they can fit an electric motor to go in between a tyre that has that kind of profile, that kind of not diameter, that kind of width, then I don't think there'd be that much trouble in converting this kind of design to a chainless drive system. I don't think that is totally unreasonable, and I've got no doubt that Kawasaki are already working on this kind of stuff. They've already got these design blueprints. I have no doubt whatsoever. But yeah, guys and gals, that is the state of electric motorcycles coming from Kawasaki. Not the best that they could have done, but it's a start. And if you are someone who is enthusiastic about what electric has in store for us in future, for motorcyclists, for cars, or what have you, then you'll probably support this, even though the product itself isn't necessarily something that you would buy. It's a step in the right direction if you are of that mindset. So, you know, okay, it's not for me, and it's probably not going to be for a lot of people. It's a glorified bicycle, really, electric bicycle without pedals. So no, it's not a good product. But I suppose it kind of has a lot of symbolic value as well, that they are committed to getting rid of their ICE motorcycles. That'd be a sad day indeed, wouldn't it? But anyway, everyone, thank you ever so much for joining me on this little kind of debate here. And let me know what you think down in the comment section below about all this, whether or not you think that these kinds of bikes are worth it. I suspect not, but let me know what you think anyway. Leave a like, get subscribed, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content uploads, and we will catch you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Ride safe.